Hi guys, happy new year and welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'll explain at the end. So I'm sick. I have a really horrible cold. So if I sound like I'm coughing and I'm dying, just ignore me, okay? Thanks. So also if you notice, I'm wearing a microphone because you guys keep complaining about my sound. So I ordered one on Amazon and I'm really hoping that it makes a difference. Now, this video is something I've been trying to do for a really long time, and I kept writing bullet points and stuff, but I realized that it wasn't going to work that way, and I just have to literally say whatever comes to my head. Um, so this video is about my journey and battle with endometriosis. Um, it's been a wild journey, I'll say that. And I'm not even gonna lie, I never shared this. A lot of people don't know that I actually, have endometriosis. And it's because of the culture that I come from, and that we live in. I had always said I was never going to speak about it until I had a child because I'm not going to lie, I didn't want to be shamed. Um, and everyone handles things differently. That was just not something that I could deal with because having a baby was one of the most important things that I wanted out of life. So the fact that there was a possibility that that may or may not happen, I wasn't ready to publicly have to deal with the stigma just in case it didn't happen. Now, the reason I'm sharing now is because now I realize how crazy that was. And also, it's very important to have all the facts. So I'll start with when I was younger, right? So after my period started, I always knew something was off, but I wasn't really sure what it was. And I'll explain why. I was always ill. And by ill, I mean I was just ill. What's wrong with you? I don't know. I'm in a lot of pain. I don't feel good, but I cannot categorically tell you what the problem is. Now, the doctors thought I was crazy. I feel like at some point my parents thought I was crazy. Because I couldn't explain, and my dad would take me to the doctor and he's like, okay, before you go, write down how you're feeling. And I'm like, yeah, and I'll get there. He's like, okay, what did you write down? I'm like, I just have a really bad tummy ache. Now, he thought I meant tummy, like, like food or whatever, but I couldn't explain my pain. And I feel like if I had better doctors, it wouldn't have gone as far as it went, right? Now, I remember we went to hospitals in South Africa. I went to a hospital in Vienna, and the doctor flat out told my dad I was crazy. He said, listen, this girl's batshit crazy. This thing is in her head and she's doing it for attention. Like, we've done all the tests. There's no reason why she should be in this much pain, right? Okay. I went to the doctors in America, in England, and because I couldn't explain what I was feeling, they couldn't figure it out. So I went through so many years of being in constant pain. And when I tell you pain, like, like rolling on the floor, crying, screaming sometimes. I mean, I felt horrible, especially for my dad because I think, more than anybody, he went through it with me the most. Wow, this cough. Um, and he would just be like, he would look so helpless. Like, what do I do? How do I make her feel better? And I feel like, it was a struggle because nobody really understood what I was going through. Now, I had very painful periods, very heavy periods. Like, before I started using tampons, I would go through so many pads, like, and just soak them. Same thing with tampons. Like, it wasn't normal. I would bleed for 2 to 3 weeks out of every month. It wasn't a matter of, are you on your period? So it was a matter of, I hope you're not bleeding. That kind of thing. Um, yeah, so how I found out after so many years of struggling, I was on a work trip with Pepsi in South Africa, and I was on Instagram and I had seen Milen, who's amazing. I had seen her post about her endo, right? And I remember reading it and I'm like, I feel like she's talking to me. Do you understand? I feel like she's describing my symptoms and the way I feel. And I remember telling my friends and colleagues at the time, Andrea and Abby, and I'm like, yo, I have this thing. Whatever it is that she's talking about, I have it. And Abby, being the Yoruba girl that she is, I was like, why do you want to speak negativity into your life? God forbid you don't have it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she read me my rights, and I'm like, no, I definitely have this. So I started researching, and the more I read, the more it was like a light kept going off in my head. I'm like, yo, I have this. Anyways, I googled doctors like endometriosis specialists and stuff, and I remember calling my dad and I'm like, yo, I need money, well, extra money possibly, because I'm going to go and see this specialist. I feel like he would know what I have. And he's like, sure, no problem. So I go to the hospital, and what was so weird was I bumped into Milen, I think in the elevator or in the walkway or something like that. And she was having her eggs like frozen at the time. And I remember thinking, this is faith. Like, and I told her, I said, I'm here because of you. Like, I read this, and I feel like I have it or whatever. So anyways, I go into to see the doctor. Now, this is where it gets funny, right? I knew deep in my heart that I had endometriosis after reading everything. But the moment I got to the doctor's office, it was almost like a reverse. I'm like, nope, I don't have this. And Abby's right. I'm being crazy. You know, there's no way. Like, why would I have this? And he did a scan. And the first thing he says is, oh my God, how have you survived for this long? I'm sure you're in so much pain all the time. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I just downplayed it. I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, well, you do have endometriosis. I mean, I'm going to have to surgically confirm. But from what I can see, you have cysts on your ovaries, and I'm pretty sure you have endometriosis, but I can't be 100% sure until I surgically go in. Lord, I remember that day like it was 5 minutes ago. I felt like the life left my body, as in old jackpot. Like, I literally felt, I could feel I can't, you know, I don't really know how to explain it, but I could feel my soul leaving my body. Now, I am Nigerian and I am Yoruba. So, my dramaticness, there's no part two. So, first of all, I was like, yep, what gets me? My life is over. Nothing is ever going to be the same. Oh my God, I have this disease. It's not, you know, like I was dramatic. And then I just started crying. You know how in African Magic, in Nollywood movies, how they be rolling on the floor. That was me. And the doctor was like, you need to calm down. Like, you're going to be fine. I'm like, no, I'm never going to be able to have kids. What kind of problem is this? This is not fair. What did I do to deserve this? You know, he's like, no, like, my wife has endometriosis and she has 2 kids. You're going to be just fine. Worst case scenario, we're going to do IVF. You know, like, you're young. We can freeze your eggs. I said, no. My life is over. Nothing is going to be the same. It was a wild 24 hours. Like, I couldn't comprehend what I was going through. So anyways, fast forward to figuring everything out, doing the surgery. So So after the surgery, they confirmed that I did have endometriosis. I had stage 3, which is quite bad. Um, and he was like, oh, that he scraped off all the cysts on my ovaries, and everything is fine, but I'm super fertile. And I'll have no issues having kids as long as I have kids before I'm 30. But if it seems like if it appears that paraventure, a gentleman did not come into my life and I didn't, have a child before then I would have had to freeze my eggs. And I remember, so when I found out, how old was I? When did I even find out stuff? Like, I was like 20. Was I 25? No, I wasn't 25. I was younger than that, like 23, I think. Anyways, so he's like, like, you're so young, you have so much time, but I can guarantee you that you're fertile. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. I want to freeze my eggs. So I started doing the research for the process. First of all, it's bloody expensive. Second of all, it's quite, it's a lot. Like, you have to inject yourself with hormones. And he was just like, like, he just shared a lot of information with me about the process that at that time and at that age, I just was not ready to deal with. But I still considered it. I still, kept on researching on stuff. And I remember asking my dad, I'm like, so if I put my egg inside this freezer and maybe the building burned down, or war, or lights, what will happen to my eggs? He said, my defrost, no. I said, what do you mean? So I'll go through this process. Kilo freeze eggs me, then everything will now what? Expire, spoil? No. So I was researching like the best facilities to keep your eggs in. So I was looking at Vienna, I was looking at Switzerland, all these fancy places, because I'm like, I'm not going to go through this process. And then, I sound retarded, I know that, but this was my thought process at that time. Now, anyways, after the surgery, the first 1 year was amazing. I wasn't bleeding as much. I had normal periods. My pain, I could feel it, but I feel like because my tolerance was so high, it was like a walk in a park breeze. It was nothing serious, like I could deal with it, I could handle it, I could live, my normal life or whatever. And everything was fine. I went on about my life, and then all of a sudden I started bleeding again so much. I was in so much pain. Anyways, I had to go through the whole thing again, which is normal. With endometriosis, you basically keep having surgery until you don't, like you can have up to 10, you can have 15. Some people are lucky they only have 1. It really just depends on how bad it is and how much it has spread. So I wanted to read you the Google definition of endometriosis. And it is a disorder in which tissue that normally lines the uterus grows outside the uterus. With endometriosis, the tissue can be found on the ovaries, fallopian tubes, or the intestines. More than 100,000 cases per year in Nigeria. So the reason I'm actually making this video is a friend of mine, maybe about 2 weeks ago, was describing her symptoms to me, and I'm like, yo, you have endometriosis. She's like, no, how can I have that? God forbid, you have come again. I said, listen, I know what this is, and that's what you have. She's like, nope, God forbid, blah, blah. I said, okay, you know what? Let's go to the doctors and let's find out. Lo and behold, we go, she does have endometriosis. Now, my thing is, it's very important for women to understand their bodies, because I'm a lucky case. I caught my endometriosis while I was young, in my early 20s, and I had the surgery and I was okay. Now, what happens with endo is if you don't take it out, it spreads. The moment it spreads to like your fallopian tubes and stuff, like it gets so much more complicated. But it's because we as women don't check ourselves. Now, another thing is you cannot go and see a GP, a general doctor, and expect for him to check for endometriosis. You don't. It's not like that, sis. You need to see a gynecologist. Now, a lot of gynecologists still don't check for these things. So you have to be very specific. You have to be like, listen, I want to check for endometriosis. I want to check for fibroids. I want to check for this. I want to check for that. Because what then happens is when you don't know you have it, you continue living your life. Some people don't even have symptoms. It's not everybody that dies of pain like me. So what then happens is when you're now married and older and you're trying to have kids, you can't have kids. Why? Because your shit's blocked up, you know? And it's because we just don't check. We we have this habit of, well, if it's not broken, I don't need to fix it. No, you need to check yourself. You need to go to the doctors once a year and get a general check. And as a woman, you need to take it a step further and check for specific things, because you don't want a situation whereby you're 30 something, you're married, you're trying to have kids, and then all of a sudden you can't. Because, and I know a lot of people that found out while they were trying to get pregnant that they had endometriosis or they had fibroids or whatever the case is. And you can prevent these things. Once again, it don't show on your face. I'm sure nobody would have thought that I was battling this battle of being in pain. I was in and out of hospital. Like, the hospital staff knew me like we were guys. They knew me by my name. Like, they didn't even need to check my folder. They knew exactly what to do. I used to get pain injections because I was in so much pain. I wouldn't be able to go to work. When I was in school, I never used to go to school during my period. Like, am I mad? No. For what? I was already dying. I could barely walk. Half of the time I would be on the floor. Anyways, also another thing is I found out that pregnancy actually really helps reduce your endometriosis. I don't know why. Something about the hormones, they kind of balance themselves out. Will I say that's 100% true? For me, I think so, because since I was pregnant, I haven't had pain that is as bad as pre-pregnancy. You know, like I do feel pain. But like I said, I'm so used to it now that it's pretty normal. For people in Nigeria that are like, oh, doctors and stuff, there's so many good hospitals that deal with fertility issues and women's issues. There's the Bridge Clinic in Ikeja. I went there because they even had a doctor, a specialist from Austria or Switzerland, a German country. And I remember, meeting him. But yeah, you can DM me. I can recommend doctors. I've been through it, honey. And yeah, so moral of this video is, if you're a woman, please don't wait until you're trying to have kids to check yourself and ask your doctor questions like, could I have this and could I have that? Could you do a scan? Could you check, is anything out of the ordinary? Now, when they do a normal ultrasound, they can see things. So you don't need to have surgery or anything until you're at that stage where they're trying to confirm exactly what you have, So it's very straightforward. It's very easy. Also get, like regular STI checks and everything. Like, it's good to get tested for anything you can think of. Yeah, so I really hope this motivates somebody to check themselves. I also hope it helps you know that you're normal. Like, if you're going through a lot of pain, especially like unexplainable pain, I feel like men don't understand what we go through with like period pain, cramps, backache, throwing up, nausea, all of that stuff. Like, it's a lot, but we're built for this. We're super women, and I feel a lot better. I kept this for a really long time, and I told only a small amount of people. I even had one or two friends that used it to shame me. Yeah, I had somebody say that I wasn't able to have kids, and it broke me. I'm not even gonna lie. That I felt it in my soul because I wanted kids so bad, and I hadn't even gotten to a point of like trying to have kids. So you speaking that into the universe, especially when it was a possibility, was kind of messed up. And there's not one person that I've told about my endometriosis that I followed with a statement saying, oh, I can't have kids. That was never the case. It was, listen, I have this, and there's a possibility that this could happen if I wait too long or whatever, you know, because anything can happen at any time. It can get worse, it can get better, and this shit spreads like wildfire, you know. So yes, I've had people shame me, and when that happened, I just didn't feel the need to tell anybody else about it. People are mean. But I've had a baby, a beautiful and healthy baby. So I feel more confident talking about it. So yeah, I hope this video helps you. And it's been a battle, but it was worth it.